Hello again, everybody. It's Harry Boxer, the Technical Trader at thetechtrader.com. It's Saturday, September the 9th. This is the weekend webinar. Once again, an eventful week. The markets had some vacillations and have really not tipped their hand as to what direction they want to take, especially after we broke out a week and a half ago. Got up to resistance and pulled back to support and then bounced, and we're right around the 50-day moving average, a little bit below it, which right now exists at 44.78. We closed 44.57, so we're about 20 points below it. And also you can see the 10, 21, 50-day moving averages all in this area. We can break through it. We can get a little pop, get the S&P up to about 45.38, and then maybe get up to 4,600, which is the next target. On a longer term basis, you can see the channel top says 4,700 roughly, could be something, or even 48, 8.25. But it depends on where they go from here. Obviously, any breakdown that takes the moving average and the trend line out, retest the lows. And that support is 43.35 and 50 zone in here. On the Nasdaq 100, we certainly have a similar pattern. Ran up to resistance, pulled back around the moving averages, closed at 15,280, and the 50-day moving average is 52.85. So we are right near the moving averages. It's going to be interesting to see if they can hold support. The weekly low is 15,138 on the Nasdaq 100. Thursday's low was a weekly low on the S&P at 44.30. So that's an area we got to watch going forward. The Nasdaq 100 breaks out above 15,620. We're probably headed to 16,000. And on the downside, support, if we crack, is somewhere in the 14,660 zone. What I'm not liking is what the transportation and small caps look like. Not only is it a 1-2 and then wave 3 already, we are at support for wave 3 at the bottom of the channel. If the transportations continue to lead the market lower, this could head down to 14.7 or even less than that, 14.6. Yep. 14.6, 30-50 zone would be a target. That's another 600 point down on the transportation. But it is due for the potential of a bounce in the fourth wave before the fifth wave comes in. So again, we may get one more rally in this market, but I think that this is a very difficult call. I've been watching this market for over 6 decades now, and I can tell you that this is a tough call. We're not extremely oversold. We're kind of neutral, so we have downside room if we crack. Transportation is ugly, and the IWM small cap index also with a rising wedge to the trend line now has a 1-2 and wave 3 retest underway, which could lead to 180. If we crack that, the channel bottom comes in around 177. So these are negative, the small caps and the transportation, while the Nasdaq 100 and S&P 500 obviously look better. So it's kind of a very mixed market and a tough call right now. Where's the McClellan oscillator? You can see that it came down from a plus 121.80 down to a neutral minus 71 at one point. It's now minus 39, and it's kind of neutral as you can get, almost near zero. Overbought upwards of 150.80. Oversold was 150 to 200 in that zone, if not worse. The percentage of stocks, and this is revealing, above their 30. How about only 3 out of 10 stocks are above the 40-day moving average? Very narrow participation and indicative of a weak market. The VIX certainly hasn't gotten anywhere near a level that we've seen in the past in the high 20s to 30 or 40, where we got panic, and the market is certainly not panicking here yet. But it's really interesting to see that this is not moving anywhere. As a matter of fact, it was down on Friday. So we'll see what that means. There's a triple bottom around the 1296 area, but historically, it's gotten down in the 11-12 zone, even in the high single digits. Just by comparison, you can see where we were several times in the last 3 years, plus 35.40 up in that zone. So a long way from there, and that's disconcerting as well. Let's take a look at the components of the Nasdaq 100 in generals. You can see Apple came down hard, plunged back basically from 190 to 173.5, 16.5 points, and then bounced. Not sure that bounce is meaningful, but we do have key support. 172.74, 172.73.5 zone right there. Amazon looks better. Certainly has held its trend line. It's up against resistance here. Looks like a coil has developed. If you break out of that coil, it could lead the market higher. Google looks similar. As a matter of fact, it's flagging at the highest level we've seen in years. The possibility of 144 or even 149.50 is very distinct if this thing breaks out over 138.5 area with volume. Microsoft also looks pretty good, although this might be construed as a left shoulder, head, right shoulder. I have to see if it holds here, breaks out, or breaks down. This does look like a wedge near resistance, so we have to be careful with Microsoft in this area, because if it breaks down, it can come down pretty quickly. A breakout could get you back to the high 340s, even 360. So that is rather bullish. NVIDIA has turned down pretty hard from the 498 area to 451, losing 47 points just in the last week. But it is at trend line and lateral price support and moving average support. This is a key area for NVIDIA. Under 448, I would be very, very pessimistic about the current outlook. We might see something in a 406 to 415 zone if we crack. There's gap support as well at 442. So stay tuned. 448, 442 key numbers for next week. Netflix, similar to Microsoft, has come back up into a kind of a wedge pattern to resistance. A failure here could leave a head and shoulders type top, but right now, breakout above 451.2 zone would be very bullish for the market. Meta, similar. Now, all of these patterns could be massive tops, but they might be wedges as well. This is why you got to be awfully careful up here. You can see the Meta has broken its long-term channel, going back a year-long channel. And now, after coming down a couple of times, has held 275 and bounced near 300. Last week's high, 307 is resistance, and then looking at a run back up towards 325. Again, though, when you see several stocks doing this, forming wedges, they could be bear wedges, and you have to be really careful to see until this breaks out or down, which way they're going. Again, when you look at Meta, Netflix, and Microsoft, they all have that similar pattern. And Tesla, kind of the same actually, but a little different. Certainly a breakdown from here, if it doesn't get over 265, could lead to Tesla this low in a high, in the 210 range, 210.12, and much more below that. But on the other side of the coin, the major channel 1, 2, 3, 4 is if it starts a fifth wave, could get it up to 335.40. That would be something for Tesla, but I wouldn't put it past it. If it definitely ever broke out above, say, 260.61, I'd get much more bullish on it. So that's a look at the Nasdaq generals we follow closely. Let's take a look at some of the major ETFs in question. The groups that really lead the market. The SMH, although it turned down mostly because of NVIDIA, it's still above the trend line and lateral price support. Key support right now 146, and the big one is 143. You get below 143, you're likely to see 135.6 in a very weak market. Financials don't look good. Came down out of their channel, had a falling channel and bounced. Got right to resistance after filling this little gap in here. and right now it's in jeopardy, meaning if it breaks down underneath 62, we have a problem. This market goes lower, a lot lower. So we have the SMH and the FAS for semiconductors and financials. Now let's look at the XBI biotechs, which are in a 1, 2, 3, 4 wave move, and the fifth wave could result in a retest of 73, 74 zone, which would be the test of the March lows. So this is, you can see that in the last year, biotechs have gone up, down, and then back down again. And it's in a consolidation basing type pattern, but any move under 72 could be disastrous for the market. And a retest of the lows from 2022, they got it all the way down to 61.2 zone. So, and anything on the upside that breaks out above 81 would be very bullish, I think. Take out the declining tops line, moving averages and price resistance. So watch for that. Tough call. A few of the ETFs we follow closely. What about oil? Look at oil. Really surprised everyone to the upside. This was in a downtrend for a year. It broke out there, pulled back and formed a three-wave corrective flag and broke out again. Look at the 4-day flag it's forming. Looks like a stock, an ETF that wants to go higher. The measure move takes us to 85. That's 7 points. If that occurs, a lot of the oil stocks should be running. Also, then you look at 91.2, the high from June of 2022, and 92. So my targets are 85 and 92 if oil continues to run. What about gas? Well, it's just not going anywhere. Interesting that we've seen some breakout and island reversal and then a back down. And now, drop down to key support, filling that gap and then bouncing. But I don't see a lot right now that to hang my hat on, so to speak. And this is only a 1, 2, 3, and this might be a 4. Could be a three-wave corrective and up we go again, but until this gets over 735 on a young, I can't get too excited. If you look at KOLD, it's the opposite. It might be breaking out to the upside. So be careful on the long side or long until we look at it. And if the KOLD should get out over 67, that could be an interesting play into the 85, 88 range. Gold is going nowhere. I still don't understand why anybody likes gold. Look at this chart. And silver, which every time you think it's about to go, it lasts a day, day and a half, and goes back down again. Right now, the AGQ is right on the major trend line. And a crack here gets it back down to 22. I just don't see gold and silver. I don't get it. And I've been saying that for 6 months, since April at least. Okay, so let's look at the ETFs we follow closely. Let's look at some stocks because we have a bunch of them to look at, and I have some new loans to get you excited about. AAOI with a big 1, 2, 3, 4 holding support. I don't want it underneath, at this point, 10.5. But the price support is around 11.5. So be careful with this one. Upside targets 15 and 20. ACHR, Junior Aerospace, Archer, looking great here. Still, even in this market. Relative strength excellent, but there's key resistance at 7.5. If through, target is 10. ACMR, Junior Semiconductor, at key resistance from August of last year, a year ago. Next target will be mid and then high 20s. AEHR continues to run very volatile stock, but in a rising channel. Of course, you got to get through the multiple tops up here at 54, 15. Then you're looking at mid to high 60s. On a short-term basis, last week's low is key support at 48. Now we're looking at 46. AFRM broke out through a double top Friday and got up to the spike high from February, but it's a nice base pattern, could lead to higher levels. Target 28. AOSL, wrong, at least on the short side. APLS. So when it popped the flag and broke out, and then I put out a swing on it, and it's really done well in terms of the way it's held up, as opposed to most biotechs which aren't doing well. However, I want this one stopped on the 38.5 3/4. Just don't let it get down and break down. If it has a fifth wave up, we're looking at a breakout to 48 and run into the 50s and 60s. APP, a long-term play, and it's been a swing ever since it broke out in May. It's run from the low 20s to the mid 40s. It still looks great. unless it breaks there under 38. ARDX breaks out of a base and forms a little wedge. I like the look of it, targeting 5 1/4 and 6. AUR base breakout and a nice rising pattern indicates to me that if it gets to 4 1/4, it might be a $6 stock. BRBR, beautiful rising channel for this food company, which went from 21 to 41. My target is 48 and 53 now. CAMT, one of the strongest stocks on Wall Street, has gone from 24 in April to 61.5 last week before the pullback. What a chart. Don't know how far momentum can take this, but I'll give you a target of 65. CBAY continues to press and push and impress. Relative strength phenomenal. It spiked up to 1738 before backing off to 16 on Friday. Nevertheless, the longer-term channel top target might be 21. CLDX inverse head and shoulders. This is a tech trader swing. It broke out, retested, popped, flagged, and it's going again. Here's another little 5-day flag. Wouldn't be shocked to see this at 22 and mid and then high 20s. Great looking relative strength CLS exploded in July and then coiled for a month and then broke out again. Looking at 25 for the target. Koya popped last week sharply. Went from 345 to 519, closed at 513. Really good strength last week, and now looking for a retest of 6, 6 1/4, and then 7.5. Cisco popped out, has moved up to secondary target, actually got a bit above it, or right to it, I should say, and backed off a little bit. So this is your angle right now. Follow through target is mid-60s. Carvana being really good to us over the last year. Pop, flag, pop, flag, pop, and then longer consolidation before breaking out again. However, this has got to get back over 53 with energy. If so, we can see 65 and 70. So for a stock CXM, Sprinkler, beautiful rising channel. Target is 1920. DBI, breakaway gap. Nice coiling flag type consolidation and then the breakout. Thursday was a big pop, test the gap, and it backed off. However, the next target is 16.5 and 20. DBRG, multiple attempts to break out, unable to do so, but it's a beautiful chart. It's a 1, 2, 3, and this is wave 4. The fifth wave could take you into the low 20s. DraftKings been real good to us. Technically popped and pulled back. We put a swing on it. It's gone from the 23 range to the mid 30s, trading at 34.49 before the pullback retest into the mid 20s. That held the trend line. It's now moved back up again. So your target are retest at 34.5 and then 38. DMRC breakout, coil, and pop. This is a tech trader swing as well, I believe. Anyway, 37.5, 42 are targets. DSP, nice looking base, breakaway pop, rising pattern. As long as it holds that angle and it breaks out of that wedge, we might see 8 and 9. Eaton, another junior aerospace. Oh, it's pharmaceutical. Sorry, not Eaton Aerospace. Eaton popped through a double top and it's back and filled. It looks like it's set up for more upside. 6.5 target. Finger, as you know, we've been following it closely. Traded it here and there. It was two really good swings on it. Oh no, here and there. I have another swing on it now. I'd like the stock for a breakout above 715 and move to 8.5 and 9.75, 10. FRSH was a tech trader swing after it popped and pulled back. It retested, moved up, made a new high Friday, but an engulfing reversal bar has it looking a little bit more dangerous now. Stop under 20, target 25. Vastly has been in a beautiful rising channel. I like the extension momentum to get this to 28 and 33. FTI, another really good chart in the oil and gas group. At this point, I'm looking for an extension to 24 and 28. GCT comes out of a base, rounding bottom, accelerating channel, jumped 12% Friday. My target's 21 and 25. Coupon running nicely after reversing in May. It's gone from 3 to 14. almost 13.75. And now the pullback wedge before the pop on Friday. Target 16. With the markets moving, I didn't discuss Gush in the oil sector, but if Gush gets to right through where it is, 52 target. Guide wire exploded on Friday. Is that some resistance here, but a breakthrough gets me into the 115 range. My swing target. As HAS broke out, we put a swing on it. It ran up to the target number 1, but it's backed off last week. Let's see if it holds or backs and fills in the area. My next target is 77 and 85. In the oil sector, HLX, Helix Energy Solutions, making new highs constantly. It's at some key resistance here, but boy, a breakthrough here could get me to 14 and 16. IDYA is a tech trader swing. It broke out, it flagged, it's popped. It looks like it could extend. Targets of 31 and 37. IMBT, beautiful long-term play. This is, I believe, one of my top 20 picks for the year, and it's done great. 28 target. Intel, well, if you remember when it broke out there, we put a swing on it, but then backed off. It's come on strong here, retested again, and now in a rising channel, I have a target of 40.41 and 44.5. IONQ back up near the highs, and a breakout here gets me to 23 and 27. Great looking chart. IoT also snapped back, cut right to resistance and backed up, and a breakout here gets me to high 30s, low to mid 40s. LFMD, strong run up, and then a multi-month consolidation. It looks like it's trying to pop. It did it here and there, unable to break out. Watch for this one to get through 490 to 5. Then we're looking at 6.5 and 8. LI, the Chinese automotive stock, with a phenomenal move it's had this year from 13 to, it's tripled, basically 13 to 47. And now consolidating in the quad. We do not want this below 38. It's right there, careful. Targets on a rebound of 44, 46, and 51. Luckin Coffee, I don't know how I was in this stock. This is one, it's literally in 3 years has gone from $1.20 to 37. You can see where this is going. This is multi-year highs. My targets 40 and 44. Eli Lilly, I just wanted to show you this stock. This is probably the pharmaceutical stock of the last 5 years. It's gone from 94 to almost 600 and breaking out to new all-time highs on Friday. Pretty amazing. LNB was, I talk about a really sharp, right, and beautiful, steady rising channel. It's taken a stock from 5 to 36, and now we have a target of 40.41. LTRX popped on Friday. I put a swing on it. I firmly believe that based on several factors. The stock breaks through this zone and gets up into the 8 and 10 area. Lights broke out, put a swing on it, but it backed off. I don't know if this is going to make it, but it sure has a nice chart. If it doesn't break down, I got a target in the high teens. VXG, look at this beauty. Breaks out of a beautiful base. Breakaway gap, flag, pop, falling wedge. 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth wave target near 10. Micron. Semiconductors like Intel and Micron, old line players are moving. This one had a beautiful pop breakout. I think we can extend. Oh, this is a Micron, sorry. My apologies. MJ, the marijuana group, that's why I was wondering what the hell's going on. Marijuana group, stocks like ETFs like MJ and MSOS, both with phenomenal moves off the low. I would love to see pullback consolidation set up because I think if marijuana is making a major move here, the ETFs are the way to go with these. Tilray is another choice. Let's look at it. And this is one of the reasons those ETFs are moving. Tilray has gone from $1.50-$60 to $3.50, and looks to me like this is a $4.50 and $5.50 stock. Miniso breaks out of a base, forms a wedge, pops up, forms a long consolidation for several months, breaks out of flags and surges. My target's 30. MRAM in a beautiful consolidation. This is a semiconductor stock, junior semiconductor, breaks out of a base, runs up, and forms a consolidation. My targets are 11 and 13. Minerva with a strong 1, 2, 3, 4, and a coil near the apex. It either breaks down and retests 5.5 or breaks out and we go up to 11, 12, 13. NPWR, that's net power. Look at this spike 5-wave consolidation wedge, breakout, retest. And if it gets out above that, this could be 18 to 20. Nutanix popped, we put a swing on it. I love this company. A little wedge form, they broke out of the wedge. It's testing resistance. You get to 36.5, 39, and low 40s target. And BT, really nice long-term pattern with a target of 64.5. OII in the oil sector, pop, wedge, breakout, little mini wedge, and another pop. 29 and 35 are targets. OLMA, base, breakout, retest, run up and consolidate and breakout. There's a big gap up there at 14, that's my target. Oracle, I don't normally show you this one, but one of my institutional clients thinks this is $200 stock, and so do I. Amazing move. Look at the long-term chart. All-time highs for Oracle, ever. And should this one get above 127.8, I would look for 140 and 160. Oric, beautiful rising channel, big coil breakout, another flag pop, testing, targets, 11 and 14. PATH, nice base for the software stock, watching to see if it breaks out over 19 and 3/4, then my target's 23 and 28. PAY also popped, wedged, and broke out. Pulled back a little late last week, but my target's 18. And a follow through. Perion consolidating now for several months after a big run, and then a pullback. It needs to get out over 37 to really get a run. If so, targets 42 and 48. Little PFIE exploded in the last few weeks. It's gone from $1.25 to $3, and now looks like a $4 stock. Momentum. Pal popped, pulled back, we put a swing on it. It's still coiling, but my target's 105. PSTG, breakaway move in May, and then a multi-month consolidation retests. Engulfing reversal bar right there. And then a run up to the channel top. Consolidating again. Should this get to 40.5, I would look for 44, 45. RCL in a nice uptrend, if coming out of the base, retesting, popping, and now it's falling channel near the trend line. Should it hold? 20 and 25 are targets, but be careful on the support side under 15. RELY, that's Remedy Global, beautiful rising channel for this stock that's taking it out of a base and run sharply higher, steadily higher. Anyway, 29.30 is the target. In the oil sector, rig broke out, coiled, popped, and out flagged. 10 and 13 are targets. Rivian, great swing for us as it ran from 15 or 13.75, I believe it was, to 28. I know it doubled. It then came down to the fib retracement, and now it's bouncing. Watch this one carefully for a move next week above 24. That occurs, 28 and 34 are targets. Roivant broke out on Friday. I put another swing on it. I love this chart. This is one of my top 20 picks for the year. I'm looking for 14 and 20. Roku popped after we recommended it. Came down, popped again, and it came down. As long as it holds the channel, I'm good with it. At this point, key support and stops under 74. That's a long way from here, though. You might want to consider 78, 77.75 as your stop. The targets are back in the mid 90s, maybe high 90s. Rover breaks out of a big base, surges to resistance, pulls back at coils, runs up to resistance and backs off. But the overall pattern is a big flag type consolidation above the base. My target is 9. RXST, beautiful rising pattern, coiling. Stop is under 27. Target is 35 and 40. Sigmatron, long 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave decline, pop, coil, breakaway gap, retest and run. I'm looking for a retest now of the high from way back in last year at around 8.5 for starters. If you get through that, you might see 11, 12. Shopify remains in a rising channel after a steep retest in August and now a pop. It targets at 70 and 80 if we get going. SLRN, recent IPO, after dipping down to 16 and change, ripped to 29 and change, almost 30, and then pull back. Your stop's under 24, your target is 33, 34. SMCI, be careful with this one. It's had a wonderful run. But it broke this breakaway gap to the downside, and then this consolidation could be a bear coil, but a breakaway back up towards above 300 would, I think, trigger some short covering and run it back to 350 if not more. SPLK is a tech traded swing after breaking out. It's run up almost every day until Friday. I'm still looking for an extension of 134.5. Sapiens breaks out here, runs up and flags near resistance at the target, pops out and flags again. Look at this one for another move to 33 and 36. Tilray, we showed you that earlier. Could extend, target 4.25.5. TSAT pop, pull back, we put a swing on it. It did very well there, but now it's pulled back in a three-way corrective, broken support and trend line, and now it's vulnerable to more downside. But I do like the long-term picture. It's a beautiful chart. Tasha, breakaway gap, pull back flag, run up sharply, continues to look good. Target is 490 to 5. TTI in the oil and gas group breaks out of a base, runs up, coils and pops. I don't know where the top is on this one. It sure looks like it isn't done, and it's making new highs, or at least it's right at those highs. Extension would be 7 3/4 and 9. Uber's been consolidating after a big run and looks ready to make some more upside. Get through 48. 48.49 is resistance. The target is 55. ULBI pop, pull back. We put a swing on it when it broke out there. It's popped again and now flagging again. It looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4. A fifth wave gets me to 11 3/4, 12, maybe as high as 13. The Veristam with a big pop and a rising channel looks to me like a stock that can continue to move. We have a target of 22. VRT in the electronic component sector, very strong chart. Any move above 40, 40.5 could get this into the mid to high 40s, maybe 50. BST, this is a utility with a great chart breaking out of a big base and now running. A little overbought short term, but the momentum could take it in the mid 30s, maybe high 30s. Weight Watchers with a breakaway gap, falling wedge, pop, and then a larger wedge and breakout. All it needs to do is get through 12.5, and we're looking at 15 and 18. XPEV, the other Chinese ETF, along with LI that I follow closely, and ran from 7.5 to spike into the 23.5 range, more than tripling. It then come down, testing them 50, bounced. It needs to hold support at 17, 17.25, but the targets are 22, 3/4, 23, and 27. XPO Logistics, my favorite stock in the truck and transportation group, has a target at 90. But I want to see it hold the trend line, which it's right at right now. And that's it on the longs, and I do have a bunch, about 2 dozen shorts to show you. I'll start off with AMPH. I just found this stock, and look at this negative engulfing reversal day on Friday. First of all, it had a bear wedge to begin with. So it head faked by breaking down and then popping up, but it got right to resistance and failed miserably and closed near the lows. This looks like a stock it's probably headed towards 45, maybe a lot lower. And I gave you this a month ago. It didn't do much and then it finally rolled over last week. This looks like a stock that's headed to 138.40 and then 122.25. AOSL, that's a hidden shoulder stop and a breakdown. This junior semiconductor looks lower to me. First target, 27. Second target, 24.5. BMEA broke down, bear flagged, rallied to resistance and failed. Bear flag, it's bear flagging again. All I can say is that based on this pattern, it continues to look lower. 13 3/4 and 11.5 targets. Crocs, well, it's working. It's a big head and shoulder pattern. It broke down with a bear wedge. We put a swing short. It came down and then another bear wedge, and it's coming down again. And should this break, 83, and then in the mid 70s might be a target for Crocs. From Crocs to Docs, the EOX broke down and it's formed the bear wedge. I can only tell you that my favorite pattern on the short side would be a stock that's broken down from a trend line, taken out support, rallied back to it. If this fails now, probably headed down into the high 70s. DXM, DXCM, breakdown bear flag, breakdown bear wedge. That's what this looks like to me. Target 93, and then 87. Therefore, you are just broke down, and that's a beautiful bear flag, and very likely to, for me, going to be a tech trader swing short. Technicals will deteriorating as well. Right now, I'm looking for a move to 44.45. GRBK in the building group, I think all the builders are vulnerable with interest rates the way they are. This one broke the neckline of a, looks like a topping pattern, rallied back, it's rolled over. You can see a new downtrend underway. I think it's got a lot to go. 38 first target. HOLX, head and shoulder top, breakdown bear flag. No breakdown of the bear flag. 69, 66 targets. INT, a tech trader swing short, broke down last week and snapped back, but unless this thing gets back above 39 quickly, I'm looking for 29 and 27. Another bearish looking chart that broke a big trend from the bear wedge, and then came down and formed another 1, 2, 3, 4. I was looking for a fifth wave for me to 13, currently 17. Levi's head and shoulder top breakdown. I'd love to see a snapback to 51.2 for a short and a target of 46 and 42. LW was in a beautiful long-term rising channel until it broke down and formed the bear wedge, and now it's formed another one. Breaking down further. That would be right there. This is more of a bear flag. Your target, 90 and 86. OMC, Omnicom broke down from the little bear wedge. It's coming down as well. I think the target 74 and 68. PI broke down hard from the rising bear flag. Then I showed you that wedge about a month ago, 90. Subsequently made it to 55 and bounced. I don't think it's done yet. We might see 42, 45. Rambus, after a nice uptrend, it appears to have broken and has a rising bear wedge. It's failed, it appears. Should it break this pattern, 48 and 42 targets. Tech trader swing, SDGR, big breakdown, little wedge formed, and then it broke down from the larger bear wedge. Take a look at this. If this cracks here, we might see a plunge into the mid to high 20s. SYM, massive topping type pattern looking. You can see the neckline here, and any break below 32.3, and this might be in the 24 range. TGLS, nice rising channel, breaks down and snaps back to the neckline. This is vulnerable to a move to high 20s. And finally, TMDX, long rising channel, breaks down and forms a bear wedge and breaks down on Friday. I am looking for 54, 45, and 40 for this one potentially. And folks, that's a look at all the technicals, the indices, the ETFs, the longs and the shorts. Lots to look at, lots to digest for next week, but please review this a couple times and get prepared for next week. Should be a big one. This is HB wishing you a wonderful weekend. Bye, everybody.